A new study published by Microsoft finds that artificial intelligence makes human cognition atrophied and unprepared, with the byline here saying that researchers find the more people use AI at their job, the less critical thinking they use. And the paper we're talking about is this one, published by Microsoft's internal research team, called The Impact of Generative AI on Critical Thinking, Self-Reported Reductions in Cognitive Effort and Confidence Effects from a Survey of Knowledge Workers, where they did a pretty thorough examination of the issue here, with one exception being that pretty much this entire study was based on self-reported surveys. It was more or less a company-wide survey for people that used artificial intelligence to see how they felt about it, how confident they were, how they were using it, etc. We didn't actually measure their atrophied or unprepared brains in a scientific way, but the results were still fascinating. So let's go ahead and move on here. Let's see if I can find using artificial intelligence in their work. Basically, the more they use it, the research found that as humans increasingly rely on generative AI in their work, they use less critical thinking, which can result in the deterioration of cognitive faculties that ought to be preserved. They go on to say a key irony of the automation is that by mechanizing routine tasks and leaving exception handling to the human user, you deprive the user of the routine opportunities to practice their judgment and strengthen their cognitive musculature, leaving them atrophied and unprepared when the exceptions do arise. And they went on to talk about basically when people use AI, they get a little bit dumber and they also lose confidence. A great number of workers found themselves feeling like they were unable to do certain tasks or solve certain problems without artificial intelligence. And when using generative AI, they discovered that the generative AI's output was less diverse, therefore often less useful, than the output of an individual human worker. So this sounds very doom and gloom, but near the end of the article, I wanted to point out that human beings have worked to offload thinking for a very long time. It was the same kind of thing originally when books were invented. People thought it would be the end of memory. When the printing press was invented, they thought it would be the end of memorizing by writing down. The computer is invented, that's the end of reading books, etc., etc. So we have a history of offloading cognitive tasks to new technologies in order to save us time to do the things that we want. And the researchers propose that with AI, this just might be a bumpy part of that process.